Welcome to the Choose Hard podcast. This episode is actually an interview that I did for my good friends Justin Cross and Adam Niall at the end of last year for their podcast, Earn It All. I'm going to link their podcast in the description of this show so you can check out their show, because if you like Choose Hard with me, I think you'll really like their content and their podcast as well. And they have so many phenomenal guests. So I'm going to link that in the description of this podcast here. But this episode is a really raw and real conversation between three guys looking to grow in all aspects of life. So they interview me on being a father, a husband, a business owner, and somebody who is setting standards for themselves and really focus on living by those standards and building a personal identity around those high standards of life. So listening to this podcast and this episode with me, you're going to hear a really real, transparent, and raw side of my story and the background behind everything I do today, as well as lessons on how to build your own standards in life and how to make sure that you stick to those standards, you live by those standards on a daily basis. Without any further ado, let's get to the Earn It All podcast with the one and only Cody McBroom.
The greatest things in life all start with a challenge.
You must accept that everything is hard before it gets easy.
Everything you want in life begins with a hard path.
All right, Cody McBroom on the Earn It All podcast. Welcome, my man.
Thank you, man. Jump right in. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's just jump right in. I was about to say right before we started recording, like what I wanted to talk about. I was like, no, but no, we'll just jump right into it. Because, we talk a lot about personal development, about, what it means to be a good man, what it means to be a man, and a lot of those kind of things, personal development and everything. But I wanted to talk with you, I think, specifically about business around that.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of good guys out there that write books or have coaching groups or that, they lead men, a lot of them church and a lot of that. But it's like, how do you make a business out of that? And you've done very well with that with your own businesses. And I'm just excited to have you here in town in Arizona. You just flew in from where again?
I say Seattle because nobody knows where I'm actually at. But so my facility's in Buckley and I live in Bonnie Lake. We're right next to each other. But I'm like almost an hour south of the city, thank God, because
oh yeah. Yeah, no,
I used to love Seattle, but it's chaos up there now.
I've heard that from more than 10 people.
It's crazy.
Like so many people, they're like, Seattle used to be beautiful. I remember visiting, I think it was Portland that I visited, and it was beautiful. This was like 15 years ago, and it was beautiful. Yeah. And then I flew through there, I don't know, 7 years ago, and it was just like third world country.
Yeah. Seattle is even, like depending on where you go, but Washington is even more beautiful than Portland and Oregon, honestly. Like from our road, when you're driving through my neighborhood, the Mount Rainier is so overwhelming. Like I'll just get taken out if the volcano erupts. Luckily, I'm like barely on the cusp, but but it's like overwhelming.
You're still in the middle of it.
It's beautiful.
Dude, that's cool. So let's talk about what you do and how you got into it. Because I think that's always really interesting is, people will see you on YouTube or Instagram or wherever. And they're like, okay, look at this guy. He's got it all figured out. He's got it together. He's got a great brand. He's helping people. He's in great shape. But then they see that snapshot. So how did you get started and what got you into this? Because I think a lot of people listening want to be entrepreneurs. They want to work for themselves, but they don't really understand what that means and feels like. I've been in for almost 10 years and it's crazier than anything I've ever done.
Yeah.
So how did you get into business? Like what happened in your early life that made you kind of like get on this path?
Yeah. So funny enough, man, I actually didn't lift a weight until I was an adult. Like never. I was never into it. I skateboarded, snowboarded, I played soccer, but I was always the chubby kid and I just never really took any of the sports too seriously, never lifted a weight. Somehow got out of like weights class in high school too. Like I never actually had it. The one time I did have it, I tore my meniscus. So I was on crutches. So I just hung out in the PT room.
Yeah.
But basically I tore my meniscus and then I tore my ACL and then I tore my meniscus again. Like it was just back-to-back injuries every couple of years. And the last one, just led to me graduating heavier than I've ever been.
Yeah.
And, man, you're going into college. You want to get the attention of girls. You want to go party. Some of my friends were going off to play college ball and I was just feeling fat, lazy, and unmotivated, honestly. So I ended up really just jumping straight into fitness, kind of going cold turkey with a lot of the foods and everything I was eating. When you're 18, you're just smoking weed and eating whatever, and that's really what it was. And so for me, I just had to I think I switched to like Special K cereal instead of Fruit Loops, like the most, I was creating calorie deficit, but I didn't know it.
Yeah, sure.
And I actually started like losing weight a little bit, and I ended up in class talking with the professor or the person who ran the class. I was going to community college for business. And I had asked him, what business did you run before teaching here? Because he was teaching about startups and stuff. And he said, never owned a business. So me being who I am,
Interesting.
I don't know how the system works, I guess, but I just got up and left because like, this is BS. I wasn't into it. And as I was leaving, I was passing, it was called functional training 101, or it was functional movement 101. But the teacher had an interaction with me before, the fitness director, and he saw me doing some stuff in the gym incorrectly, tried to help me, and I just brushed it off.
Sure.
I was young. And I ended up basically just walking in his class and was so fascinated. There was a baby on the projector and he had all these lines around it showing a contralateral crawling position with a neutral spine, and it blew my mind. And I got really, really into it. Started training harder, and literally like within a week of seeing that, and I was already training for a few months, decided I was going to change my degree. Both my parents said no, because why would they? I was chubby, just started working out, but this is going to be my career. So I ended up forging my dad's signature because he was the one taking care of school for me. And I switched to a PT program at the community college. And that led me to an internship with a guy named Luca Hosevar at a gym in Seattle called Vigor Ground. Really well-known strength coach in the industry. And that just kind of, it just spiraled from there. And 6.5 years later, I ended up turning it into an online business, leaving the gym with 0 clients and just decided to start fresh, baby on the way, and built Tailored Coaching Method. So it was really just like it spawned from, me being overweight and insecure, wanting to get in shape. And I lost like 45, 50 pounds in that process. And just became obsessed with it, man.
That's awesome. I kind of went the other route in high school. I was always the skinny kid, the hard gainer, and I hated it. I always got the comments like, you can eat whatever you want. You never gain a pound. And I was like, damn it, I'm trying to gain a pound. And so when I left, I went into the Navy. And then after the Navy is when it finally started to come on. Then I gained 40 pounds that way. So I went the other way. But it's interesting how much confidence is affected by how we look and how we feel. And I think that's the biggest reason why people want to make a physical change is it's not even necessarily what they see in the mirror, it's how they feel in their head. And if you can make that change physically, like you start to feel better, you start to believe in yourself more, and you just start to go. And I've had that, you've had that, he's had that. Like it's
true. That's the, like, not to go hard at right away, but that's the problem with the whole body positivity thing. Totally. It's accepting where you're at because that's okay. Like that's saying that you have low standards and you're okay with it, which is not a way to live, know? And so even if looking in the mirror and, for me, I actually literally, it sounds so weird to say out loud. The moment for me, I actually looked in the mirror after the shower, butt naked, looked in the mirror and was just like, dude, what are you doing? I was 18 years old, feeling pathetic. And I was just like, this has got to change. And so I basically just started changing because of that. And that's kind of using your own pain to create change, and I'm not telling people to go shame themselves, but if I was following the typical body positivity movement, I would have been like, you know what? You were meant this way. You're
beautiful.
You're beautiful.
Yeah,
just accept the way you are. Accept low standards and stay here, which is not a way to grow.
It's crazy. We just posted a reel about this, and it's getting some you already understand what it's getting, because I was talking about shame. Shame is the undisputed champ for change. It is. It just is. It's like you will not change as a person, and this as a coach. You can give somebody everything, perfect plan, all the food, all the right? You can't give them the will to do it. You know what will give them the will to do it though? A little bit of shame.
Yeah.
And that shame has to come from them. Like it has to be a mindset shift in the mirror, like you did when you were 18, and I've done, and Justin's done, where you look in the mirror and you go, F you.
Yeah.
Like that's reality.
Yeah.
Like the reality is, it's like, no, you have to look in the mirror and be like, no, I'm not beautiful, but I could be.
Yeah. So the way I've always looked at it is, and I kind of steal this from Tony Robbins way back in the day, but there's pain and pleasure associated with every stage of the process. And like in that moment, the pain for me was the insecurity, was not liking the way I look, not feeling more energetic and healthy and confident. But the pleasure was being lazy and not tracking my macros and not going to the gym and, not worrying about sleep, So if we look at the other side, the pleasure is being confident. The pleasure is, being in shape and all these things, but the pain is meal prep. The pain is going to the gym. And so like, it's just pick your pain, pick which one you want to deal with so that you can have the pleasure that you're after. And if the pleasure is laziness, then so be it. But if the pleasure is something greater than where you're at right now, you have to focus on that pain.
Yeah, no, 100%. I love that you brought up Tony Robbins, like just the GOAT.
Yeah.
100%. But it's true. It's like, you pick your pain. Like you're going to be miserable, you're going to be overweight, or you're going to be skinny. You're not going to have the confidence. Your life is going to suffer because of it. Probably your business, your family, like just everything.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, yeah, if all it takes is being a little more disciplined. And the cool thing about discipline, in my opinion, especially when it comes to consistently being disciplined, and we can even talk something super simple, like drinking a gallon of water a day. When you know that that is a habit, that is a real thing that you don't have to track and force yourself to do now, you're really proving to yourself that you can set out to do this new thing.
Yeah.
And now that's just part of you. You know, so then if you start to meal prep and eat, and that becomes a habit, you exercise, let's say 5 or 6 days a week, and that becomes a habit. Those things are like, now you've mastered the basics. Okay, what else can I apply this to?
Yeah.
Now we can really get dialed crazy on whatever, fitness and supplement protocols, or maybe a business or these other things. But we have to take care of those basics. You know, and I think it's overlooked a lot of times, especially for guys like us that are coaches that do kind of have our stuff together. Like we overlook the basics sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think it's really good to like just go through. I do a thing called a perfect week challenge with myself. I'm not going to move my TRT shot a day because I got sleepy, or I'm not going to skip my magnesium because I fell asleep on the couch. I'm not going to say I ate enough and I'll just make up for my extra calories or my extra protein tomorrow. I'm not going to do that. Make it perfect. And you realize that voice is there a lot.
Yeah.
It's like, it's always telling us, no, you've been working out for, 25 years. You can do whatever today. You're like, no, like, I need to stay dialed so I can keep finding other things to improve in my life.
I call it stacking the 1%, because like, let's say, we call, rob Peter to pay Paul. You like go over your calories a day and you cut them tomorrow. Right. Like you can get away with it. But if you just plan ahead, that improves your result by 1%. You take your creatine today, that's 1%. You take your other vitamins, you get that extra 30 minutes of sleep, whatever it is, it's just 1%. You stack 21%, that's 20% better. And they're so simple if you just do those little things. It's actually what, we talk a lot about this self-formation process with our coaching. And it's, going from creating self-control, which leads to self-discipline, which builds self-belief. And then eventually when you get your result, you have self-respect. And that's a transformation of yourself. And really like the self-belief component though, after you've built discipline and showed self-control, really all self-belief is just having proof. Like you were just talking about all these things, like that's just proof. You do those things, you build those habits. Now you have proof that you can. You stuck to your commitments, and now you will have self-belief to go do other because you have showed yourself that you really can follow through.
The cool part too is that as soon as you get to that point, and it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long. It could take a couple days for some people. Once you get to that point, that the pleasure pain thing switches. And now it's like, oh no, this feels really good. I really like this. I feel good. Like I'm confident now. Nothing changed physically that I can see. It's been 5 days, right? But I feel good.
100%.
Like I like the fact that I said I was going to do something and then I did it. And for a lot of people that they've never had that. Like especially a lot of young guys now. We talked to a ton of young guys. We have a retreat that we do every quarter. It's called True North. We do it's a men's retreat. And we bring 30 guys out to this beautiful spot in Sedona and spend 4 days with them, and it's this awesome thing. And a lot of these guys have the same like issue where they've never felt self-confidence before, and it's because they've never stacked that proof. And I say the same thing in just a different way. I'm like, you stack undeniable proof that you are the person that you say you are. And if you don't stack that proof, then it's just words. You're just saying, no, no, you're not. You are what you do, not your habits, right?
Well, man, like self-discipline and these traits, they're transferable too. We get like, we work with like a lot of, moms losing weight, and we work with everybody. And I'll hear this all the time. It's like, I don't know if I have the self-discipline to do this. And then I'm like, so do you have kids? Yeah. Okay. So you have 2-3 kids and you don't have self-discipline? Because I have one.
How do you expect those kids to get any discipline?
But I mean, just, it's self-control too. You know what I mean? You have to show that if you're a parent. So I'm like, hey, you just got to transfer it to this fitness thing. Losing 20 pounds is easy compared to taking care of a kid. They just don't run through the game tape. They don't think back on these things in their life.
Which is a great point for having a coach. Like having someone that's outside of your walls of your house that is looking at your life and finding easy things like that. You're like, hey man, or hey lady, like, no, this is actually kind of what you need to think about. And I love what you said there. Self-control, discipline, and belief, which develops self-respect. So tell me in your words, the difference between self-control and discipline. I think I like how you have those two on there.
The way I look at them is self-discipline's a trait and self-control is more of an action that you're doing. self-control builds self-discipline. But once you have the trait of self-discipline, you no longer need to search for motivation to get up and get going.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to look at your clock and see the time and not want to get up,
Yeah.
but get up anyway,
Yeah.
you know, because you self-discipline is really just doing the thing that's going to lead to your result, even when you don't feel like doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the only way to develop that over time is to consistently take action, which does take self-control. A lot of times self-control is, if we're being honest, it's resisting temptation of some sort,
Yeah.
you know, and what I tell people is we can remove some of that. Cause look, like if you can't stick to your diet because you got treats in the house, one step is just get rid of the treats.
Mhm.
I mean,
Right.
if you got a ton of stuff in
Yeah.
there, like just remove
Get
them.
out. Yeah.
But at the same time, that's your only way, it's the same thing with scale. If you just avoid the scale because you don't like seeing it, you never get over the scale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you just remove all the treats, you never are able to, manage how many, because
Yeah.
people who consistently stay lean over time, they don't really eliminate things. They just limit
Mm-hmm.
things they eat. So we
Yeah.
need to be able to put you in that space with the temptation while you still say no, because you have the power and control, which develops a trait of discipline.
I love that, especially, and I'm sure he's going to say the same
No,
thing.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. We have another company called Earn Your Booze.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole premise of that company is that,
Yeah.
or it's like, no, it's not. Booze is not good for you. Blanket statement. We all know that. It's poison, whatever, right? I like an old fashioned, right?
Yeah.
I can go and have one old fashioned or two or three, whatever, right? I can have a couple old fashions. And because I've built the self-discipline and the self-respect, and because I've built put all those things in place, I don't do that every night.
Yeah.
I don't do that every week even. It's like that's what the whole premise of that is, you know? And
Yeah,
and-
because when it comes to drinking, a lot of the times they're like, oh, I can't even see the bottle. I can't even be around it. I can't
Mhm.
even see a
It's
bar
boogeyman,
setting.
yeah.
And they turn into this thing, and it
Yeah.
really gets them going. But we don't have to go down that path too far. But if you can get to the point, to your point, where it's like, no, you're having a drink, but I'm not, and I'm completely unfazed by it.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've conquered it.
Yep.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. You don't have to remove it. You don't have to have these special conditions and stuff where I can't go meet you there because it's at a bar,
Mhm.
Yeah.
or I can't, you know what I mean? It's like, but I love how you said that, because it's true. It's not just about taking the junk food out, and a lot of people do need to do that. But how about if there's something there that is a treat that you can master control over? Now you own that thing. It doesn't own you
Yeah.
anymore.
Well, I think when you say it out loud like that, and this is really helpful for normal people,
Yeah.
say you can't have something out loud, you will just feel so weak.
It feels so weird.
And
Yeah.
I don't want to belittle people, but
Yeah.
if I can have a close relationship with a client, I can kind of do this a little bit and they
Yeah.
understand. I'm like, wow, you can't
Yeah.
be around that. That
Yeah.
doesn't sound strong.
Yeah,
And it's
why?
like, you know,
Yeah, that thing is stronger than
yeah.
you.
So even
Yeah.
with the booze stuff, like, I love old fashioned. I'm a big wine guy. And like, there was a point where a thought popped in my brain. It was like, man, every date night, like I'm drinking, like we're definitely drinking. I'm like, I can't remember the last time I had a date night without alcohol.
Yeah.
And I had no intentions of becoming sober, but I was like, I'm going to challenge myself to not drink anything for, I think it was like 10 weeks. Cause I was already getting ready to get on stage.
Mhm.
This is
Sure.
last year. And I was like, all right, well, I got to cut the alcohol out about
That's
4 weeks
called
out
habit
anyway.
stacking, y'all.
Yep, exactly. And I was like, let me challenge myself because I want to prove to myself that I don't need alcohol to have a good time with my wife.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I did it. And now I feel a lot better about drinking on date nights because I
Yeah.
know I don't need it, but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so I can have
Totally.
it.
Yep.
You know?
It's a push pull too, because the date night is more important
Mhm.
than not drinking that one glass of wine.
Yeah.
The date night is way more important.
100%.
You guys cutting loose, having a good time, like that's way more important. Gonna manage stress way more than
Mhm.
that little bit of wine that you drank, or maybe you drank a little bit too much, whatever. The fact of the matter is that you've set your life up in a way because you have those things stacked up in a certain way of the self-efficacy, the self-respect, and you understand that that's your baseline. And this is what people need to understand. When your baseline is mastering the basics and I've got my together and that's not the boogeyman, I can have a pack of Oreos in my thing and I'm not going to eat the whole package. I can eat one. Like, how many people can say that if they have the Oreos, they're going to eat the whole package?
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing this a long time. And so have you. Like,
Yeah.
I can't have the Oreos in my house because I'll eat all of them. And it's like,
You
that.
don't have that self-control and that
Yeah.
discipline.
Yeah.
Well-
You haven't stacked those things up
And,
first. Yeah.
I think a lot of it comes down to, identity statements and standards. A lot of people just don't have standards for the way they live and the way they show up, you know, and this is something that I think is great for your guys' audience too, because as men, like that's the most important thing, to live and lead in a certain way. But the stories we tell ourselves become our identity if we don't control them. So when somebody tells me I just have to have a glass of wine at night because, you know, I'm stressed out, or I have to have a beer after work, I'm like, you have to, because now you're telling yourself that beer equals unstressed. And you're going to wire that into your brain. You know, even I remember there was a time where I'm a big cigar guy, and I had a stressful day at work, and I literally was like, I need to grab a cigar.
It's over there.
And you too?
Humidor in
I
here.
got a cigar for you too.
So I went to my humidor, and I was like, I need to grab one because I'm going to go sit out back. We live in this, like, the woods are behind us. I got like a fireplace in my backpack. Like, it's the perfect place to just chill out, listen to coyotes, and just smoke a cigar. But it was usually, that's like my Sunday reflection thing. And I was doing it on like Wednesday because I was stressed. And I stopped myself like as I was grabbing it because it clicked in my brain. And not because I'm perfect with everything, but because I've done this with so many other things that I was like, oh, you're telling yourself that this is not a celebratory thing anymore. This is a anti-stress thing. And I don't want this to become an anti-stress thing, because I don't need anything to deal with stress. I can get through stress on my own. You know, and it's that flip, you know, that switch in your brain that begins to rewrite that story, and then your identity becomes something different.
Dude, I just listened to Chris Willix and the Dry Creek Wrangler, Dwayne. You know who I'm talking about?
I haven't listened to it yet, but I saw that. Yeah.
He was talking about this exact thing with cigars too. He was like, he was talking about hustle culture specifically, but it was a perfect conversation about balance. He was like, it basically said it the same way you do. It's like, you shouldn't need the thing, right? He's like, but also doing the other, like the hustle thing all the time and no sleep and like, that's not good either. Yeah. It's like, especially as men, we need to be able to turn off, sit on the back porch, have a cigar and read a book. We have to be able to do that. And it's not to de-stress. No, it's because it's balance. Yeah. I know how to do that. Yeah. I know how to do that without that taking over my life. And I know how to do that without that taking over my life. Yeah. Too.
And that can be, that thing could be whatever it is.
Whatever you want. Yeah.
I think a lot of times balance gets skewed because so many people think of it like this time scale too.
Yeah.
Where I've had people say to me that I don't have balance, especially people I grew up with that saw me working a lot. And they were like, that's no way to live. You don't have balance. I'm like, are you sure? Like, I love what I do. I think I think you just hate your job. And so you're telling me that I don't have balance. Because like 100% of my time is given to my wife, daughter, and my job. Like, I don't go do a whole bunch of stuff because I'm not going to go on a vacation and get drunk. This is a vacation to me. Traveled out here and I get to podcast. Like, that's amazing, you know? So, but I agree, like, you will burn out even on the best thing. You know, it's like the kid playing basketball with his dad's yelling in the crowd, makes him practice every day. It's like, there's no off season. He's going to hate that sport eventually. And you can't do that with work. And I've been in that place where I'm like, oh, like I've gone a little too far, too hard, burning the candle at both ends. And you got to be able to have that.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that specifically because your hat says choose hard, like it's your brand, you know, and that culture, that hard David Goggins culture, you know, it's kind of like you're on all the time, always choose hard, always be in self-development, always be learning, always be grinding, always be working. And it's like, well, dude, like you can't.
No.
And because we also need the other side of things where we need to be able to relax and think a little differently with a cigar or maybe even some weed, you know, or some drinks. Like, that's where the creativity comes from a lot. You know, we need the variety in our brain. We need the creativity. And I wanted to ask you about that because, like, what do you say to people in your program or whoever that you're advising? You're like, yes, my thing is choose hard. And I want you to make these conscious decisions to work harder and work on yourself. However, yes, it's cool to sit on the back porch without a phone and to have a cigar and stare at the trees.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's cool because, you know, our company is called Tailored Coaching Method, and we work with, honestly, the majority of people are just everyday people.
Yeah.
That, you know, they've come to us after hiring other coaches, or, like, I always say advanced Gen Pop, because they've read some articles, they listen to podcasts, they kind of geek out a little bit, but they're just a normal mom, dad, teacher, whatever. I've had the pleasure of working with some really cool people as well, WWE, like low-level actors, pro athletes, and really, really awesome. But to be honest with you, I get more fulfillment out of the everyday people because it changes their life dramatically. Like, fitness is the catalyst to growth in every other area. Their spiritual life's better, their marriage is better, their work is better, like everything is better. And so these everyday people, I started saying choose hard to, and then they started saying it back. And then they would like send me their PR and like hashtag choose hard. And it was funny because I started noticing that and I'm like, this is a message. The hashtag doesn't do anything, but it's cool that they're doing that, you know?
Yeah.
And,
You built a culture.
Yeah. And
That's
so
how
it
you
just
build
kind
a
of became
culture.
this thing of like, choose the hard thing because you know it gets you closer to your goals, whatever that may be. And it was not designed as this David Goggins thing. And I love David Goggins. He fires me up. I love his book. I've listened to a bunch of podcasts, and he's a very, very humble person. I actually saw him in person. I didn't talk to him, but I messaged him afterwards and he responded in like, I was in Vegas to see Joe Rogan, and me and my wife it was crazy because we were sitting right behind Exhibit, and I was like,
oh, cool.
Babe, she's like, who's that? She just, it wasn't clicking. And I finally was like, pimp my ride. She goes, oh
my God.
Growing up listening to
The
country.
only
nothing but
thing
country.
he doesn't want to be remembered
I know,
for.
right?
Yeah.
I tried to say like 5 other things first, but
Yeah.
But anyway, on the other side, David Goggins started walking down and people like were standing up cheering. He was like, no, like sit down, like just very chill, like off to himself, humble. And then Liver King walked in and people stood up and he was like, yeah. And he had no shirt, a trucker hat on, and the MGM Grand. I was like, dude, this guy. But anyway,
oh my gosh, what a show though.
I know it was really good. So, but Choose Hard came about from these everyday people. And so it was designed for them, you know, and it's not always about waking up at 5 a.m. and running 5 miles.
Yeah.
You know, like I just did a half marathon a couple months ago. And for a while, that's what it was for me because I didn't want to do that. Right now, that's not what it is. Right. Sometimes it's when I get home at 6 p.m. and it's been nonstop. My brain is fried because I've been up since 5. I've been talking to people all day, podcasting, do all these things. And I open the door and I got a big, fat, cute bulldog and my 6-year-old daughter running the door ready to play because mom's tired. And in that moment, I don't want to play. I'm like, I just want to chill. Can I sit on the couch? Like, I can't even get my bags down before they want to play. And so Choose Hard for me in that moment is doing the right thing that feels difficult in that moment, which is playing with my daughter and my bulldog. You know what I mean? Like, so Choose Hard, I think when it's cool because it's something that these everyday people can look at in an achievable way, like a very normal, achievable way. And it's not always this crazy hardcore thing. Sometimes it is if you need it to be. And crazy enough, I was like, I'm just going to see if this is trademarked. And for whatever reason, it wasn't. So I trademarked it. And that's why I was like, okay, we'll put it on some hats and some shirts and we'll be able to say it more. And then we changed the podcast to Choose Hard.
That is such a great example of it because I know exactly what you mean. I have a 6-year-old daughter too. When's her birthday?
March 7th.
Okay, hers is September 26th. Yeah, I think it's great. Such a fun age. But you're exactly right. Like I come home sometimes and I find myself driving home faster because I want to get home. But sometimes you can't help it. Like you said, sometimes like my head is fried from meetings and podcasts. And like if we go to an event, you know, you're glad handing all day long and shaking hands and doing the thing. And you get home sometimes and it's like, oh my God, like I don't want to do anything. Yeah. But how are we serving the family if we walk in the door and say, I don't want to do anything? That's horrible. Yeah. Especially when the wife is also home. She's tired, but the 6-year-old isn't. The dog isn't.
Exactly.
So I love how you said that. Like in the moment, that is choosing hard. Not that you don't want to do it, but it's just physically the more difficult option instead of sitting on the couch. Yeah. But that's why we have to do it.
Well, and it's
that.
Not just, you know, there's a book called Do Hard Things. I had the author on my podcast. It's a really good book. And I think saying do hard things is great. Yeah. But there's a difference between doing something hard and choosing to do something hard, because choosing hard puts you in power because it's a decision that you made consciously, knowing it's probably going to suck, you know? Like, so, and this is why I do. So I competed, got on stage for men's physique last year in November. And then I did a half marathon in October, and then I'm doing High Rocks in February.
Nice.
High Rocks is brutal.
I'm nervous, but like, I'm probably not going to redo any of those things. I've done a bodybuilding show way back in the past. The whole point was the Choose Hard thing actually started with the physique show. I did it in the midst of, we were doing this big product, like, promotional thing. My wife was getting ready to have surgery. Like there was all this stuff going on. And I was like, I'm going to do this despite everything going on because that's everybody's excuses. Yeah. It's hard to focus on me because I got all this stuff going on. Okay. Well, like, let me take it to the extreme because I'm going to be, you know, the poster boy for this. Yep. And then I did that and it inspired a lot of people, one of which ended up getting on a stage. I coached him for it. And he actually got 2nd and 4th in another category. He has Parkinson's disease. And he hit me up and he's like, you know, you inspired me. I want to do a show. I'm like, dude, that's great. That's awesome. And he's like, but I have Parkinson's disease. I'm like, to be honest, I've never worked with somebody like this. So I did studied up and everything, and it's such an insane experience working with him. And he's in Washington, so I was able to go to his show and be there with him.
That's awesome.
But like, there's people that work with us and people that follow us that are able to do these things. Now we're going to High Rocks. I got 3 of my coaches on my team doing it. My whole team will be there, and then we have like, I think at least 10 clients flying out to Vegas to do High Rocks. I had a handful of podcast listeners that are going to do it too.
Yeah.
Just because they're going to choose hard. They've never done that before, and so last week I did a High Rocks mock session. That was my choose hard. I didn't want to do it. 100 wall balls at the end of it. It's so stupid.
So dumb.
It's so dumb. But I'm like, hey, this won't hurt me like CrossFit will, because I have no business doing a snatch or anything.
Sure.
So this is like a good equivalent. But
IROX is such a crazy amalgamation of like strongman and what CrossFit used to be and should have been. And like, it's gnarly. I trained a couple people to do IROX for it.
It's brutal. Yeah. But that's
good. Yeah. And I like how it inspires other people to come with you. I think that's super cool.
Yeah.
We just have a client finish right now. The 777 race?
It's a great world race.
Yeah. 7 marathons on 7 continents within 7 days. Back to back to back, literally flying across the planet. And this dude,
so dumb.
This dude is Sean.
So dumb, yeah.
But awesome.
So cool. His name is Sean Swarner. I'll connect you guys. You should just know him. He's just awesome.
Yeah.
And he's a 2-time terminal cancer survivor, has 1 lung, and has summited Everest and every highest peak on every continent around the planet. Has done the Ironman Hawaii, like Kona, I guess. And now this thing, all with 1 lung and with the previous cancer bouts and all this stuff. And so like, you talk to the guy.
And he's 50.
And he's 50.
That's wild.
He's the most positive dude ever.
Yeah.
And he was on our podcast way back before we even called it this. And the guy, our business partner, Rob, was interviewing him. And he goes, what are you thinking about when you're going up Everest? And you just, like, it's incredibly hard. You're just step and step and step and step. And, people have died and like, you don't want to go anymore and you're frozen. You have 1 lung, you can barely breathe and all that. And his answer was like, damn, just like choose hard. He was basically like, well, with every step, I just thought a little bit stronger. I'm going to get a little bit stronger. I'm going to choose 1 more step. I'm going to choose to do 1 more step. And he just kept going and going and going. And he made it all the way to the summit. But in his mind, he was getting a little better and a little stronger with every step, even though it was excruciating, just going and going and going.
So what's crazy about this too? Because I look, and it's only a half marathon, so nothing too crazy. But up until that, I think the most I ran was a mile in middle school. Like I've never been a runner.
Dude, don't diminish a half marathon. It sucks.
Oh, it sucked bad. But man, I'll tell you what, like I ended up really, like as soon as I got done, I was like, I'm going to be running more, because there's something that happens when you start getting miles in. And I know for me, when I passed like an 8-mile straight run, that's when it really started like clicking with me. And the cool thing is like, I studied some of this for a presentation I did, and the runner's high, I always thought that was so weird. I'm like, how do you get high running? Right. That sounds ridiculous.
Right.
Well, that only occurs when you experience pain. That's why you only get those, crazy endorphin releases in a cold plunge when it's extremely cold, not when it's like kind of cold. That just sucks.
Right.
But when it's iced, it's a cold plunge with ice in it, or when you run a really far distance and you start experiencing pain, your body releases endorphins. Your brain is literally helping you numb the pain. Yep. And that's why you get this euphoric sensation, which is crazy. But like that guy, and, for me, I know in a 10-mile run, this is like, it really clicked with me. The first 4 miles, I kept looking at my Garmin. I'm like, dude, this sucks so bad.
But then when you've only gone half a mile.
Yeah, exactly. But then when you only have 4 miles left, all of a sudden you start kicking up another gear, in my half marathon, I did a better, like minutes per mile than any of my prep runs. I did it with a guy that's ran multiple full marathons and everything. We just cruised, dude. And it was just, that ability to be in my head in a positive way like that, and just thinking, again, for me, the storyline behind Choose Hard is the storyline behind Tailored. Like I grew up with such an average lifestyle. We didn't have money. I was overweight, had all these injuries, and like the unlikely candidate to do anything. I even had teachers tell me that I'm never amount to anything. And I don't blame them. I got D's and I was not like a high performing student, but to me, it's like, I look back at it now and I'm like, damn, God really wrote this whole story for me to just have every average scenario. I mean, I even tried to move out of Washington 3 times to the point where I'm not even going to say how much money down on houses that got sent back the money. I lost money. There was like the craziest, weird, wild situations,
Really?
not allowing me to move. And I'm like, dude, I don't belong in
Like,
Washington.
all right.
I don't like it here. But at a certain point, I was like, man, me and my wife finally were just like, all right, we submit. You want me to be here? If I'm supposed to be a light in a dark place, if I'm supposed to be this example of this, you know, average guy who is striving for above average,
Water the grass.
then I'll be here,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yep.
man, I can't tell you how many doors have opened. And it's only been like a year, not even a year yet, since we finally, I was like, I've been trying to move for like 3 and I was finally like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Dude, doors have been opening, like so many positive things in my life, personally, spiritually, financially, with the business, everything. And it's like, man, okay. You know, it's part of the storyline.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great thing because, man, I really like how you said that because when I left, I was in aerospace for a long time. I was in the Navy, then I worked for, Lockheed Martin, the world's largest defense contractor, make fighter jets and satellites and software and all this stuff. And I was on fighter jet programs. But as I was leaving that, I kind of had the opposite, where it was almost like too easy to leave. Like I was like being led to leave.
Yeah.
And now my wife, long story roundabout way, is now back kind of like helping that whole world, like, because she's like one of the OG pros of this fighter jet flight test world. And she's going back looking at it, and they're asking her to fix the whole thing essentially. And I'm like, what do you mean? What happened? When we left, like, it was amazing. Like, we were just crushing all these test points and all these things. And she's like, no, everybody left. And to come to find out, we left like 8 years ago. We were like the first people to leave. Then everyone else left.
Wow.
So I felt like I was kind of being pushed a little early, which is a good thing. And you were like trying to leave, but you were being held like, no, this is your spot.
Yeah.
You know, so we got to, I don't even know, where I'm trying to go with this, but I think it's really important to like try to figure out like where you're being pulled.
Yeah.
You know, like where are things really happening for you? Like you were trying to leave, but you knew probably that like it feels weird trying to leave.
Yeah.
Like there's something holding me here, and now it's all paying off in all these different ways.
This is the, you said it in there. You said, I submit, right? And I think a lot of people, even if you don't believe in God, even if you're not religious or whatever, submission, that you're not submitting, you're not giving power away or anything like that. What you're doing when you're submitting is you're sitting the down, you're shutting the up, and you're just listening.
Yeah.
And when you do that, and when you when you sit on the porch with a cigar, right, and you can shut up and get rid of the screen for a little while and just, what do I need to do?
It gives you time to think,
Yep.
man. And I think, like, to your point, it's not giving up power. It's just not being stubborn. You know, it's not being like you're just trying to shove, what is it, a square peg through a round hole or whatever, over and over and over again, ignoring the person who's trying to give you the right shape screw. It's just going, okay, let me take some advice. And I think that, you know, my grandfather used to say, before he passed away, he always said this to my dad. My dad says to me, and it's just as simple as trust your gut, follow your heart. Yeah. So half the time, like, I need real advice. Trust your gut, follow your heart. And that's what it is. You know, like, what is and for me, the dream on my heart, realistically, what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to create, it wouldn't have been as impactful in Frisco, Texas, where I wanted to go, because I know a lot of the guys out there, and everybody's hustling, everybody's happy, everybody's fit, everybody's pushing it. They don't need another one of those guys. They don't need me, right? Like, here I am in this place where I'm alone. There's no other guys like me. There's nobody else that, like, you know, agrees with me, but it's because I'm isolating myself. Meanwhile, there's all these other guys isolating themselves too. I have a facility. I have a place that I can bring people to. I have the platform that a lot of people don't have. I have the ambition that a lot of people don't have, and the stubbornness that a lot of people don't have. And I finally am just like, okay, let me open it up. Lo and behold, like, literally relationships, even neighbors that I never thought were on the same page as me, opened up, and I'm like, holy shit. And it was just because I was like, I'm not going to hide my opinion, my thoughts, or anything anymore. I'm just going to be who I am, because I've always said that's one of the most important things you can do is be authentic, you know? Dude,
I love that. The follow your heart and listen to your gut. And I want to give an example for anybody listening right now. If you wanted to be a professional golfer, right? I'm going to use whatever. A golfer. If you want to be a professional golfer, right? And you say, cool, follow what the pros do, right? That's normal advice that we would give you. Oh, well, okay, so we got Phil Mickelson, whatever his name is. We got Tiger Woods. We got John Daly. They train drastically different. The way that they got to where they are was drastically different. John Daly drinks 30 beers and smokes 2 packs of cigarettes and will crush Tiger Woods on the course. Tiger Woods is insanely disciplined. So it's like, or you get rid of that, you submit, right? And you say, I'm going to listen to my heart, I'm going to follow my gut.
Man, that's the same thing with business, dude, too. Like there was, so we just started testing this out literally in November just because it was like, you know what, it's time. Let's play with ads. Never ran an ad before because everything's just been built organically. You know, there's 12 of us on the team. We work with people all over the world. Like, and everybody kept telling me that I need to do it a different way. And I just was like, I'm just going to hire a different business coach then. Not because like, you know, and you don't hire people just because you want them to tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, no, this is like what I'm building. And this is what I feel is the right way to do it and is congruent with my brand. And that's integrity, you know? And so there's just so many people's opinion in how to build a business that I think that it's so parallel to what you said there because every single person has done it differently. Literally every single person.
Yep. Oh, totally. And I love how you were like, had that realization like, hey, if I had gone to Texas, the same opportunity isn't there, you know? And you said like, hey, I'm grinding, I'm disciplined, I'm motivated and all that. And you realized, okay, there's a market right here for me.
Yeah. That's
really good. So I'm back to like my original thing here. If someone listening like wants to do their own business and they're like, hey, I work hard, I'm motivated, I can get up and do whatever I need to do, I'm disciplined and all that. Like, what do I do? You know? So like, I was looking at your notes here. You went through something where you almost died from something. I want to hear about that. But let's bring it back to like the person listening that is trying to figure out what to build. You know, they're like, and they hear all the advice. They go to seminars, they listen to Tony Robbins, they listen to whoever, Frisella, they listen to all their favorite business guys. Maybe they're even in a coaching group and they like, okay, I need to go fill in the blank. I need to move, or I need to go online, or I need to open a brick and mortar. I need. You don't need to do anything necessarily. Yeah. You know? So like, what do you tell someone that's in that phase?
Yeah. I think the first thing is that, you know, just ask yourself, what is the thing you can't stop thinking about? Yeah. You know, if you're questioning whether or not you should go into business with whatever it is, what is that thing that you just can't stop thinking about? Like when I was getting into fitness, I didn't want to think about anything but training. Before nutrition or anything, I got into nutrition because it was a need. People need it. Everybody was training hard and wasn't losing weight. And I was like, okay, let me figure this part out. But I just wanted to read about programming. I wanted to buy programs and ebooks from, you know, Joe DeFranco and Smitty and all these people because I just wanted to consume everything. And I was working at a community center. I was like a glorified janitor at night. And then I was working at a pharmacy in the day and I was going to school at the same time. I was like reading program design books at the cash register and in the back room in the janitor's office because I didn't care about those jobs. I just wanted to learn. So at a certain point, you just go, okay, I have to make money doing this because I have to spend my life doing this. Whatever that thing is, you got to go with it. You know, I mean, I'm assuming that's probably what happened with you too, because you're probably got a cush job, everything's fine, but you get pulled out of it and it can be confusing. You're like, why? Yeah. Well, if you can't stop thinking about it, there's a reason, you know, like I think dreams are put in us for a reason at times. Yes. So I think that's the first part. The second part is, you know, very aligned with the choose hard idea. It's going to be hard. Like I think half the battle with difficulties and challenges and getting through struggles and being successful is the ability to just accept that those things are going to happen. Yeah. You know, if we try to constantly avoid it or not think about it, you're just making it harder for yourself. Yep. If I can just accept that, hey, this is going to suck at some point. Hey, I'm going to go through stress. I'm going to go through financial struggle. I'm going to go through taking risks and not being comfortable. I mean, if I would have moved to Texas, let's just say this, I would have saved a lot of money because you know, Washington State is not the best place to run a business. It's not the cheapest real estate for my commercial space and all that, but the impact I have is greater.
You still would have been successful in Texas, but the fulfillment wouldn't be there.
Exactly.
The family life might not be as good. You know what I mean? It's like, it's these ancillary things that people aren't worried about when they're first looking at it. They're like, no, what's the most like efficient business decision right now? And it's like, maybe worry about, I love how you said it. And you're like, and you're basically like the thing that you can't stop thinking about. Yeah. And it's like, if you just error back to that, if you just default back to that, you're never going to make a bad decision. Yeah. Because that's your dream. This is what I want to do. You know?
Well, man, like when I interviewed for an internship, I was still in college and I interviewed for an internship at Vigor Ground. they asked me like what I wanted to do, long term. And I told them I want to run an online fitness business. And back then that wasn't a thing. I mean, this is 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
He's like, so how are you going to make money? And I had no answer. I was like, I honestly don't know. I know that Jason Ferrugia does something to make money and he's really popular online. Same with Nate Green, who, if people are listening, these are like old school, like back in the day.
We just saw Jason at a seminar.
Great people.
Recently.
Yeah. I've hung out with them many times over the years because of Vigor Round and stuff. And like, I just knew that there was something there and I couldn't stop thinking about saying, I knew I need to do it. And the answer that Luca gave me at the time was work here for 5 years every day. Then you'll have the right to do something online.
Yeah.
And so I was a trainer for 6.5 years before I started online business because I took that to heart because day one, this is what I need to do. This is the thing. And I know I'm not going to steer away from it. My dad was constantly trying to talk me into a plan B just in case. And I was like, no, there's no just in case. Because if I have a just in case, then my first priority, my main thing is not going to work.
Yeah.
So I stuck with that. But I think the near death experience definitely helped me in some ways because I think there's a level of seriousness that gets applied in your life when something traumatic happens.
Yeah.
And I want to tell people like, you shouldn't have to wait for that. Like, don't wait to get in a crazy car accident before you're like, I'm going to take my dream seriously. Because if something's, burning on your heart, like go chase it no matter what, because you have to.
Yeah. You nailed it with the be obsessed thing. I'll tell you, that has been my thing forever. And when I left being in aerospace, I was originally getting into a brewery. I was going to open a brewery, a business partner right here. So what did I do? All in obsessed with the beer world, specifically the beer business world. Like I went to SDSU for the first beer school they had down there. I listened to every single business of beer podcast, read all the books, joined the Brewers Association, got a job after my engineering job in aerospace at a brewery, brewing at my house. Like you couldn't get more in depth with like understanding the beer world.
But people say that's not balance. See what I'm saying? But to you, you're like, what do you mean? I'm having a blast.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
love
like
this.
when I say balance, I do by no means do I mean like on a scale where it's balanced out.
Spending your time doing what you love.
I am all in on my business. I am all in on my family. I am all in on my physical activity. I'm all in on these things. That's where my balance is.
Because they matter to you.
They all matter to me. They're all my priority. So, but that obsession with whatever it is that you do, that is what you need. Yeah. So that's why, like, I think a lot of people, when they get into something, they get into the wrong thing because they're getting into it just because of whatever. They want to be like somebody, or they think it's a great financial opportunity or whatever it is. But like, you need to be obsessed, whatever it is you're involved with. That's why like the beer world. And then after that, when we started Earn Your Booze, I got obsessed with events. I've been over 100 events. Got obsessed with apparel. Learned everything with apparel. Yeah. And now that we're doing that with the podcast, it's like you have to like truly be in whatever you're in.
And people will only say you're obsessed before it's successful.
Oh, totally.
Once you make it, once it's successful, it's just passion.
How'd you do that?
Yeah, it's just passion, right? Like I literally had people that I grew up with that were making fun of me, stopped following me and stuff because they're like, dude, you're obsessed with the stuff. And now it's like, man, you really built something. That's super cool. Yeah. And I don't care. Like, I don't take offense to anything. So I'm like, thank you, man. Like, I'm not going to hold a grudge from the past, but that's just the reality. I've used this example in when I've spoken on this stuff too is, nobody looked at, I mean, some people probably do now, but like, think of Kobe. Kobe was clearly obsessed, right?
Totally.
But he was famous and praised because of it. Why? Because he was the best. I don't watch basketball, so if anybody's going to argue that, it means nothing to me.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah, Sam, I don't.
It's Michael Jordan.
Funny enough, I'm a fitness guy and I don't care about sports.
We don't either.
Okay, good.
We're the same. Yeah, I actually rage.
People are always shocked by that,
except for Michael Jordan. I met Michael Jordan the other day in Scottsdale.
Damn, that's cool.
In a bathroom, and my life is complete.
Really
I've read
cool.
all of his. Watched his story. I grew up too young to see him play, but that mindset.
Yeah, Tim Grover is the only reason I know anything about Kobe or Jordan.
Oh yeah,
because that got me sucked in,
dude.
But to that point, obsessed, right?
Obsessed.
I'm sure when they were younger and they were like, their first year in the NBA or anything, they weren't. It wasn't looked at like passion. Once it becomes very successful, now all of a sudden it's passion.
Yeah, that's a good indicator that you're doing the right thing, though. If you're okay with being obsessed with something, and you can't wait, like you said, to research your programming, you can't wait to listen to this podcast, you can't wait to get down and brain dump an idea you just had, like that's a good sign that you're on the right path.
I'm still that way to this day, dude. I've been in the industry for 14 years now, I think.
And you'll never work another day in your life.
I'll never work another day. I mean, of course, there's like, I'm not gonna lie. There's days where it's a grind. There's days where it's stressful. There's days things don't go my way. But there's never a day where I don't feel aligned with my purpose, you know? And I think there was a period of time where that was hard for me to understand because, you know, I'm just building a business. Like, what's my purpose? Like, how does this really make the world a better place? But once you start tying certain things together and realizing that I can impact somebody through fitness and that can change these other areas of their life, or that they can, I mean, this guy with Parkinson's, you know, he's been tagging the Parkinson's community, Instagram stuff. Who knows what that ends up doing? You know, now he's got the bug. He's like, I want to do it again. I want to do better. I've only found 5 people in history to do a bodybuilding show at all, you know, with Parkinson's. So
it's great for them neurologically though.
Like, very difficult. Like posing is so hard for him.
That is going to extend his like health span, right? Like lifespan, cool, like live, but also you want to be healthy and live too. The health span for somebody with Parkinson's doing posing and feeling the mind muscle connection and like working out those neural pathways. Insanely healthy for them to do, and all of them should do it.
And so like when he came out on stage, the announcer was like, he survived, or he went through brain and spinal surgery to be here with us today, and you can see the scars on his head. He's got the pacemaker in his chest. It's like he was so lean that it was like about to shred the skin at that point. But it's you know, that guy obviously went through hell, and it goes back to the whole near-death experience thing. You know, that does change things a lot. For me, I was pretty young when I went through something like that. I've been through a lot of hard things, just, you know, in my family. Aunts committed suicide. So we think we don't, you know, won't get into that. But like things like that, deaths in friends, you know, going through hardships with the business. Seeing my wife go through stuff. My wife had surgery literally just a year ago, and they botched it, and then they had to do it. Like, it was scary. My daughter was born with kidney defects, so her one kidney's bigger than the other, and so she has 2 ureters on one side that compete, leads to kidney infections. And we didn't know when she was born, so it was the scariest thing in the world. 7 weeks old, 104-degree fever. Like, they did a spinal tap. A spinal tap. It wasn't meningitis. Like, everything. Finally figured it out. She was on antibiotics for every day until she was big enough to have surgery. 4 years old, had a big surgery. During COVID, wouldn't let me even in the hospital.
Oh, man.
Because I was so mad too. I'm like, okay, so wait, but you're vaccinated, right? Yeah. Okay. And so I'm no danger to you, right? Right. Okay. So I can't even be in the hospital. I can't be in the lobby with my wife.
Absurd.
Oh, it was insane. So then I had to go sit on a parking garage roof for hours waiting. Just waiting, you know, like, scariest thing ever. But, you know, all these things, if you choose to look at them, they make you stronger, because you go through those moments of like, why me? Like, why is this happening to me? And it's like, well, man, like, you know, I posted this the other day. If you're going to pray for strength, expect something to need strength for, you know? And so those things, sometimes I kick myself for creating Choose Hard, because I'm like, man, there's some more hard to work through. But you know what? Like, if I can think about that storyline, okay, this is shaping me, you know, that's going to continue to allow me to be stronger and grow and help more people and fulfill my purpose. You know, I didn't have that understanding when I got jumped, which was the near-death experience for me that you brought up. Like, I must have been 21 years old, I think. I was in the fitness space, but I was getting paid to work out, basically, is the way I looked at it. I was obsessed with learning. I was training people, but I didn't have responsibilities. I didn't have crazy bills or anything. And I was at a party, and a dude punched a girl in the face in the cold sack outside. And it was wild, because that happened. The girl's friend like ran in, told us. So I was the first one out the door to do something about it, as in my opinion, any man should. And as I was walking out the front door, his buddy grabbed a half gallon of Captain Morgan's unopened, smashed me in the face. Oh my God. So I was unconscious instantly. And then they just were kicking me in the head while I was laying on the porch, bashing the back of my head in the porch. Luckily, I knew one dude. I have a hard head, bro. It broke. The doctor was like, you're so lucky that like broke over your head, because that probably saved you.
That bottle's like this.
Yeah.
Dude,
and so my buddy ran out. He was the only guy that I knew there, pushed them off me. I woke up in a bathroom, and there was actually a cop standing over me. And, you know, like anything, there's good and bad. I'm all for the police, in my family, in-laws, friends. And this one was not one of the good ones. We lived in an area called unincorporated King County. So it was not a real county. So it was place you can get away with stuff. And her response was, told you should have turned the music down. And I'm just laying there, blood everywhere. Somebody's wiping me off. I was in and out. And then somebody just dropped me off at the hospital. And so I had like my eyebrow was gone, stitched in the back of my head. They broke my jaw. But I remember like that moment, you know, being defining for me in a way of like, I just can't waste time, you know, because you just never know. I was obviously not expecting that.
Yeah.
I also wasn't expecting some dude to punch a girl in the face and my reaction to be what it was. And, you know, all these things like, so point being is, you know, don't wait for those moments. I'm going to be much more likely to trust my intuition without a crazy event happening now. I'm still working on the trust God and just do the thing piece because, you know, as entrepreneurs, you want to control everything.
Yeah.
And I think the more you try to control something, you're kind of constraining it at times.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to let it play out. You got to let it be.
I think I love what you said earlier about, you know, you got to ask for the right thing. Right. And I love this quote. It's ask not for a lighter burden, but broader shoulders.
Yeah.
And I think if you ask the right way, you're not, as an entrepreneur, especially if when you know, it's like choose the hard that you want, right? And it's like, all right, cool. I'm gonna ask for the right. If I ask for the right thing, it's like, show me the thing that I need to do to make me strong enough that I can have that thing. That question is way more effective and efficient at getting you to the next like level or wherever you want to go than how do I make $10,000 more with ads,
dude.
And it's like,
here's two perfect examples of that. So I have a guy that I work with, normal dude, but he's not a normal dude. The guy's a savage. Just turned 50, looks phenomenal, but he lost a good amount of weight with me, built a lot of strength. He went through a crazy situation where his daughter, he saved her life and had to carry her over a mile barefoot in the middle of the night through the woods in Texas. Like crazy situation. Dang. And the text voice memo I got thanking me for the purpose of us training for life, which is what we've said over the last year. Oh my gosh, man. Another situation, my daughter, she was really small. She was still a baby. So, you know, just learned how to roll over. Yeah. And they had her in the doctor's office, you know, like the beds are up high. And both nurses turned around to grab something and she rolled off.
Send it.
Dude, I literally leaped off and caught her one-handed like a wide receiver. It was wild. Dude. And again, I don't play sports, so this is all all fitness and God. But I caught her in one hand and just brought her in, and like the look on my wife's face, that literally just saved her daughter's life.
Dude.
And but when you got to do hard stuff in the gym, and if you can think about not knowing whatever's going to come up, but that you're going to be able to handle it because you chose hard in the gym, physically, mentally as well. Like the assault bike sucks, but it sucks more mentally than physically, right?
Dude.
Yeah. Half the time at least. I know for me it does. Yeah. And to me, it's like choose hard is about helping people understand that. And if they can just have that on autopilot, so like that's their first response is they're pissed for a moment. Why is this happening to me? But they instantly shift to this is happening for me. Yep. Yeah. Right. I'm training for whatever.
We put a lot of stuff in because of his background as strongman into our programming around capability for that exact reason. You know, we're not, of course you want to train a certain way to look a certain way, but really if you can train for capability, that's when like, okay, if I need to carry my daughter through the woods for a mile or make a quick sudden movement and catch something or pick something up heavy that fell on someone, like that's training, like you said, for life.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why we do a lot of carries, do a lot of compound movements, do things that are just not just to like, you know, just stand there and flex and look a certain way, which is cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you can really train for capability, 100%. That's how you kind of like hedge your bets against whatever unknown is happening because everything is unknown. Yeah. Who knows? All three of us need to do something extremely physically demanding leaving this building today for some reason. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah. I like to tell guys this. I'm like, look at your immediate friend group, right? And we'll use this room as an example, right? I would not be worried one bit if I was somewhere with you guys doing whatever, because I know if I go down, you guys can care. You're not going to be happy about it, but you can care, right? But like I asked the guy, I'm like, look at your friend group or look at your wife. They don't like this one. Like the average female in America is 170 pounds now, or 176 pounds, whatever it is, over 170 pounds. And I'm like, have you ever carried 170 pounds of dead weight? It sucks. It's a lot.
You're going to love this. It's I got a sandbag at my gym. That's the weight of my wife. Yeah. She's like 115 pounds. So it's not near that, but like, that's why I did it.
Yeah. I'm like, exactly.
Yeah. What better weight to throw over my shoulder or carry like this than that, you know? And her knowing that I did it is helpful too. You know, she's not going to pat me on the butt for nothing, but like, I want her to know that. I want her to know that I got her, you know.
Absolutely.
We've had a scare before where Nothing actually happened, but she thought she saw something on the monitor, and she thought she saw somebody standing over our daughter.
Oh,
The speed at which I got up, got the gun, and got into my daughter's room, you know, and she got another gun. We're good.
Yeah.
And there's been times where nothing happened. She like tries to wake me up, and it's hard to wake me up because I sleep. But something serious happened that gave her confidence, you know, like I'm going to do whatever I got to do to make sure that my family's safe. And I think you can't do that unless you train for it, you know, and you have to be able to train just knowing that I don't want anything to happen, but God forbid it does, I'm going to be prepared, you know. And one of the reasons why I did the half marathon, because like I was talking to a buddy of mine and I was like, there's no way I could run 13 miles. There's no way. And as soon as I said that, he just grinned at me, and I was just like,
you're like, oh man.
yeah. Cause he's done multiple, and he's like, you're doing it now. I got one in 10 weeks.
You know,
like, right.
I want to, there's like all these videos, right? And they show like, it says it's called dad reflex. It's like all the videos of like the camera, and it's like the dad's passed out asleep on the couch and the baby falls. He's like, dude, you know, and I brought that up before to some, they're like, yeah, but those guys don't train, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, but the point is though, the point isn't that they were able to do it, because you're going to be able to do extraordinary things in an extraordinary situation.
Yeah.
The point is you're not going to tear your shoulder out of its socket doing it.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to like destroy yourself now if you have to pick a thing up off your kid, or you have to walk out of the woods with whatever, right? You're not going to destroy yourself doing it. It's just going to be, like your body's ready for it. You already know. You're going to be able to do it either way.
Yeah.
Like flow state is insane. And I'm sure like flow state is absolutely insane. It's the reason why the little grandma could lift the car off of her grandkid.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy what your body can do when you're in that mode and you have all that neurochemistry going through your body and everything. It's crazy. But if you train that way, you're not going to tear your shoulders out of your sockets doing it.
Yeah.
Like, and that, I think that's a big point for people, because we always get that point of contention when it's like, yeah, but you know, they bring up the little old lady thing doing the thing. I'm like, yeah, but do you know what happened to her after that? Her entire body was bruised.
Yeah.
Like she was f***ed for like, yeah, she saved the kid. Like, I used to show that video when I taught NPTI for years. And
so did I.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I was assistant education director for all the California schools.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just one of the instructors.
Dope.
I was like 23. I think.
Dope. Yeah. I was super young when I did mine too. Yeah. Dope. But I did a flow class and I taught people about flow. Thought it was important. And I'd show that video. I don't even know if you can find it anymore, because it was like a Faces of Death video, you know?
Yeah.
You can't find it on YouTube. Like, but it's that the lady picks the car up, and I think it was Yale did a study on that video, and they showed she grabbed the car in the exact perfect leverage, like point and all this stuff. Like it was crazy, but then she completely f***ed herself up, saved the kid, but she's completely f***ed, right? Yeah. And it's like, it's just a good point to remember, like, if you're trained for that, then you're going to be fine afterwards too. And which is the important part.
Yeah, dude, when I even my half marathon, my Garmin didn't say the full distance yet, and I was like, I gotta have that. So they were like cheering, holding the medals, and I ran through and grabbed the medal and kept running. I ran right through.
I'm not done yet.
Watching this, I ran like another like 0.1 miles. And I was feeling great. Drove home like 2.5 hours, no biggie. And then the next day I was wrecked. You know, even that night. But it's in the moment, it's totally different because those endorphins and everything. And that's not even like I would have been alive and fine if I didn't do it, you know? So that's even like crazier. But this just kind of popped in my head that I think is a good thing for people to think about when thinking of everything we're talking about. I heard a pastor say this when I was out of town, actually. He said anybody who traveled out here for this event, it was an entrepreneur men's kind of mastermind kind of thing. And he said, like, what do they say? What does your family say about you when you're not here to other people who don't know you? And the way he described it made me think about, you know, I'm here right now. Let's say the kids and my wife are in the cul-de-sac playing and somebody is over that isn't usually over new. Said, oh, what is Cody like? Like, what are they going to say? You know, and whether we're talking about physicality or emotional intelligence or spiritual or anything, like, what are they going to say? Because I don't care if they say I have a big house or I have big biceps or anything like that. But if they say that, you know, these traits that we've been talking about with character, like, man, Cody's a really disciplined dude, super caring. He's always out helping people. That's all he cares about is serving others. Like, what do I want them to say? And it's not about like making sure everybody, you know, you care what everybody thinks.
Yeah.
But I think it's ignorant to say you don't care what anybody thinks, because that's a literal description of who you actually are and show up as.
Yeah. My last company that I ran is called TBO90. It was total body optimization. And I did 18-day blocks of different stuff. And one of the blocks was like mental exercises. And I'd have people write their eulogy because you write your eulogy. And then when you do that, you take the time to sit down and actually write what I would want him to say at my funeral, right? That's what you're striving for now. Now you don't have to ask yourself, what am I supposed to be like pushing towards? What is my purpose? What is my, look at that. That's exactly what you like. Those are the characters that's what you want somebody to remember you as. Then do that.
I've done that before too.
Live that. Yeah.
Jason Frugia is actually the person I heard say it way back.
I don't remember where I saw that from, probably T-Nation or something.
Yeah, it was probably that. It was years ago. But it's true. It's powerful. And if you realize, if that's painted on your brain, you're going to start showing up and acting in a certain way because you want to influence people in that way. Like you don't want to be, I don't know. I see so many guys that Chick-fil-A did a daddy daughter thing over by us, and we went, and it was like they brought in a ballroom dancer, and like we learned how to do that, and they white cloth, but you get like a chicken sandwich, My daughter loved it. But I was just looking around at the guys, and it like frustrated me so much. Some of them were just on their phones, and their daughters are there trying to get their attention. Half of them just looked absolutely pathetic, not to be brutal, but I mean, it's just true. Just out of shape, unpresent. It drove me nuts. And I'm just like, man, and even for guys like us who have podcasts and have social media and stuff, one of my good friends, he was, funny enough, he was trying to influence me to stop cursing. That was his big thing. He was like, stop cursing so much. And I've been better about it. But he said, when your daughter's 16 or whenever you let her, surf the web, she's going to find you. She's already watching YouTube videos. At what point can she spell your name and, find your stuff and really actually want to watch? I think mine won't pop up because we have like the parental, but like at some point she's going to be curious, and then she's going to see what I say. And if I'm talking about character development and she's watching and then goes, you weren't like that at home, man. That's the worst possible thing that could ever happen.
That's a great point. And those kids are brutal with the truth.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that. My daughter has said a couple things like along these lines. I didn't ask her. I forget how it even came up, but she was essentially describing me because I gave a speech on Veterans Day at her school, K through 12. It was super cool. It's like 400 or 500 kids, like it was awesome. I loved it. And being a Navy veteran, I was just like, dude, sure. If you want me to say something, I'll say something. But it was really neat to hear her describe me to her friends, and it's usually like he's strong and he's nice and he teaches me stuff and stuff like that. I'm like, cool. I'll take that over he's angry or he's never home or anything. Because a lot of kids, that is their reality.
Yeah.
So if we can get real with like who we are as we're living every day and have that merge into our eulogy, which is coming at some point. Like, I love that you guys are talking about that because it's like, I want to be remembered a certain way. I better be acting in ways that is going to earn me that description at the end of my life.
Yeah. My daughter, this is just a couple weeks ago, and I don't know why she started bringing it up, but she was out of nowhere. She was like, hey, Dad, remember that time that you helped that lady with that heavy pot at the store off the top shelf? I was like, oh, yeah, I do remember that. And she was like, you did that with the pop too. There was that old lady that couldn't get the pop. I was like, oh yeah. She was like, or when you picked up that lady's Christmas decoration that blew over in the wind. Yeah. I pulled over and stopped. And like, there's these situations where she just picks up on it because I've created a standard for myself. It's like, I'm not going to allow this pass me by. And to me, that's what extreme ownership is, right? If I have the capability to influence a situation or fix something, I have to do it because I can. It doesn't matter if I spilt the soda on the ground. If I can get down and clean it, unless I'm trying to teach my daughter a lesson of how to clean for herself, I'm going to do it. And so she's been watching, and I didn't even realize. There was one time where I actually didn't see the garbage that blew over one of our neighbors. I was trying to get her to school. She was like, Dad, and I like slammed on the brakes. She's like, you can't let Tone's garbage is over. You got to pick up that. Yeah. And part of me was like, I'm gonna pick up that. I didn't blow it over. She's hard. And so I did it. And I was like, I don't care if we're late because this is the moment for her to see what doing the right thing is.
Dude, it's so important for kids, especially 1 to like 8 years old. Yeah. Because everything that they see, hear, and do from 1 year old to like 8 years old stays with you forever. That's why so many people have like childhood trauma that they can't remember and things like that. It's from those years. So I think that's so important that you say that, like like, dude, she's going to remember that forever. And it's going to carry over into it's going to carry over. She will have a great relationship with her husband in the future because of that. Because she's going to look for those traits.
Yeah.
And she's going to understand that. Dude, it's so important.
I was listening to a podcast on the way here. I'll send it to you guys. It's so good. This guy, Dr. Robbie something. And, so between ages of 7 to 9 is where the part of the brain that starts learning how to actually make cognitive decisions and problem solve and stuff like that starts to. It takes, it's like a decade or two of development. Yeah. But he was talking about all this stuff, and he says like a lot of statistics and research shows that the father is who helps establish the identity in a child. Yep. The mother is there for a lot of things that men can't do, but there's a reason why a lot of the issues we see in fatherless homes later on have everything to do with a lack of identity of who they are, right? And so the way he was wording it, it really, really made me appreciate when I do try hard, and it made me think about when I'm not. Even like little bickerments of my wife and I, and just thinking of like, she doesn't know what's going on. Like we could be better about that, of how we go about that, because I'm basically setting the tone. And so I have to show grace. I have to show, poise and equanimity and really have a lot of self-control in those moments, because that's what's going to show her her identity. If she's going to be someone who has self-control and kindness and all these things, like, man, she has to, and we've done really well with just speaking our beliefs and values a lot and aligning with our actions, to the point where she's had situations even at school where she stood strong so well. Like, some little kid, this happened twice, crazy enough. God's not real. And I was like, oh, how did that, what'd you do? How did that make you feel? She was like, I just told them they were wrong.
Yeah.
And walked away. And I was like,
no.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the next day she's like, we got to draw pictures on this wall, and I drew a big cross right in the middle of it. And I was like,
yeah,
atta girl. But like, if we didn't explain the importance of our values in our home, she wouldn't understand that that's a big deal. That's important. She wouldn't want to do that. So I think that there's just so much who cares what the neighbors say? But if I act a certain way and they can acknowledge that I'm this type of person, my daughter can't comprehend how to explain how I am in that way.
Yeah.
So I got to strive to make people around me see me that way, because then I know she's going to be modeling her attitude and identity off of that, Dude,
it's so important.
Yeah.
Especially now, since like the number's insane. The statistic is so stupid. I hate that it's real. It's like 68.9% of, or whatever, almost 70% of all kids born in America right now are born to single mother homes.
Jeez.
Like, what?
I mean, even, even talk to my daughter, this happened recently too. I think it's gotta be this age. She was like, Dad, how come your parents didn't live together? And I was like, they were divorced. And then it's like, why? I'm like,
what's that?
Well,
What do you mean?
Well, what'd you do? And I'm like, well, my parents didn't get along. So one dropped me off at the end of the driveway, and me and my brother walked down every week with a suitcase. She's like, oh my gosh. Or one day she was complaining about the yard, and I kneeled down. I was like, hey, most of my childhood, I didn't have a yard.
Yeah.
Because I live in an apartment. Then I had to explain to her what an apartment
My
was.
gosh.
Yeah.
She's like, wait, what?
Like a hotel? I'm like, kind of, basically. But like, those situations.
And you chose to live there?
Yeah, right. Definitely not, but we did. But like, it's all teaching moments. It's so crazy. And they pick up. I mean, it's like those things you hear before you have kids. They're like, they're a sponge. They pick up everything, and like they grow up so fast.
They do,
so,
man.
Be present. And you're like, I know they grow up fast. And then somebody worded it to me not too long ago. They said like, oh, well, just know you only got 12 summers left.
Yeah.
I was like, holy, you're right.
It's nuts.
That is wild.
12 Christmases, 12 summers.
That is nuts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So crazy. But that's, again, like this is really why I like, not to keep saying choose hard, but that's why I love choose hard, because there's so many of those things. Like me stopping my truck, getting out and picking up a Christmas decoration in the yard. That's not easy. Nor do I want to do it. Nor am I responsible for it. I don't even know the people,
Doesn't matter.
The cool thing about that one is I got back in the truck and I looked up and there was an old lady looking out the window.
She saw it.
Yeah. And she was too old to do it on her own, Yeah. So it was cool. Like I was happy. I mean, not that I wouldn't, if it was some random 20-year-old dude, I'd be like, oh, yeah, exactly. I'd get arrested for it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, I think there's just so much. And I truly believe that for me, at least, fitness has been the catalyst to all of it.
Yeah.
And we strive to be that for people, because we know that that's the easiest, hard, challenging, it's easiest and safest, hard, challenging thing to put people through that can cause just so much transformation in other areas of their lives.
Totally agree. So what would be like a parting shot here as we wrap this thing up? We've talked a lot of different things: fitness, personal development, leading by example, like being a husband and a business owner, all these things. Like, what would you just give the audience that is your whatever, choose hard or whatever route you want to take it? It's going to help them essentially decide, make a decision to act and do something.
I think that, have you guys heard of Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning?
Yeah, I think so.
He talks about this in the book. And so he's I want to say a psychologist, maybe a therapist / psychologist.
Psychiatrist.
Okay, psychiatrist. Yeah. A Jewish psychiatrist from the Holocaust. And he wrote a book about his experience in the Holocaust and the thoughts. Wild, sad, really sad book, terrible book, but also very, very helpful for growth. And he talks about there's a space between every situation. So we have a stressor and then we have a response, basically, right? And there's a space between the stress or stimulus we experience and our response. And so my advice to people would be to try to sit in that space for a little bit longer. There's very few things that need an immediate response. Phone call, text message, work tasks, like literally anything. Yeah. Even I want to say it's 7 minutes. It might be less, but cravings. I heard this from Dr. Robbie guy again. They only last that long. Like if they look at studies and your neurological patterns, cravings don't last that long. Yep. So if you can go, hey, I'm gonna give in and eat this. I'm just gonna wait 5 to 10 minutes. You will be 10 times more likely to not make that decision because you gave it space. If you get in an argument, we did this with my daughter, and then I was like, I need to do this. Walk down to the hallway, touch the wall, and come back. Yeah, with a smile. She never comes back with a smile, but by the time she gets back, I can fake a smile, and then she laughs, and then it's fine. But otherwise, I might have yelled, and then she would yell back, and nothing gets done. And it's like everything in life. If when the stressor or the stimulus or whatever it is happens to you, create just a little bit of space. Your decision, your reaction, your response, everything that follows that stress is going to be 10 times better. Sometimes that is fitness related. Sometimes it's not. Choosing hard 9 times out of 10 is the better thing. Yeah. But when you create that space, I think you allow some logic to really sit and it's easier to make that better decision for yourself.
Yeah. Dude, love that.
That's a great answer, man. And all the links to find you in your companies and everything are all going to be down below wherever you're listening. So we don't have to worry about trying to get people to write it down and spell it out. But man, we connected on social media, maybe not even a month ago or so. And just right away, I was like, dude, I totally get what this guy is like, I think. And I love his brand and everything. And it's been great talking with you today for a little over an hour now. Thank you, dude, thank you for joining us, man. Yeah. And thank you for doing what you're doing. Yeah. Because this whole personal development space, when you're in it, it feels like it's really big, but it's really not. Like it's a small area that I want to see expand out to more and more and more and more people, because we both have 6-year-old daughters, which I think is cool. And I'm most concerned about the world she's going to grow up in. Yeah. So if we can be the change to other men and women that are going to be, her age and leading her, and that she's leading and involved in her life as she grows, that's my mission today. Yeah. Is to help get people healthier, get them more confident, think, logically, be curious, like, have manners, be good men, be good women. So I love what you're doing out there, and keep going, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you guys having me. It's been a blast. And I agree 100%. As soon as I saw your guys' stuff and the title Earn It All, I'm like, yeah, this is going to be very aligned. And there's not enough companies that are really fortifying what they do with fitness, or fitness companies leaning into the other areas that fitness helps with. So it's important for brands like mine and yours to do that, because I think so many people, at least in the fitness space, stay on that surface level. They don't want to go out of their scope of practice. Totally. There is no scope of practice. We're making humans better.
That's why we say earn it all. Like, it's not just getting in shape and then you're done. Yeah. Like, no, how's your mind? How's your home life? Are you able to sustain and provide, for your family? Like, there's a lot more that goes into like having it all together, but health, like you said, is the priority. Yeah. Like, if your health is not squared away, I don't frankly give a how much money you make. Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't care either. Yeah. We've got to get the health squared away if you want to have the ability to even tackle these other aspects of life.
Yeah. That's why I really love what you said earlier, way earlier, when you said, you had to cut your teeth in the gym first and earn your right to go online. Yeah. I literally used to teach that to guys at MPTI, because all these dudes coming through the classes, they want to go straight online. Yeah. Like, oh, that guy, see him killing, he's all online. And I'm like, you got to go work at Crunch Fitness for at least a year or two. Yep. I like, go can go deal with the what is it called? The blue sneaker program at Crunch.
Yeah.
With those people first.
Yeah.
If you can deal with those people and you can thrive in that environment, you're going to thrive online.
Yeah. 100%.
I love that you said that, man.
And I'll just say this, that any trainers listening, just know that, I don't talk too much about the mindset, the discipline, the personal development too much online because it's not what's going to get attention always.
Mm-hmm.
But like 99% of our clients, when we ask, hey, what do you guys want the coaching workshops to be about this month? It's always that
mindset.
stuff.
Yeah.
The last one I did was on personal identity and standards by request.
Yep.
Like we're a fitness company. That's it. So I think one, people want that more than you realize. And number two, if you don't know how to teach it, then you're not putting yourself through that is going to really sharpen your blade and teach you how to be that person.
100%.
And I think that's really, really important. And I hope that people, if there's anything that I do to influence like trainers and stuff, I hope it's that part.
Yep. Anybody can do a crash 75 hard thing or whatever.
Yep.
It's you being able to like help them develop the why.
Yeah. 100%.
And that's the most important thing. Because as soon as they have the why, they're going to be a client forever because you help find that for them. And they don't need the super dialed in programming anymore. So it's like they're going to be a client forever because you helped them change their life.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, okay, now we're going to develop together.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
That's the way it is.
Oh, yeah. So. All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks for listening. Make sure you please subscribe, share. We don't charge for the show. Like Andy says, don't be a hoe, share the show. But dude, Cody, really appreciate you being on today, man. Enjoy the rest of your trip in Arizona.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
All right, brother.
Yeah.